Welcome back to the Jazari Kual Show. Jazari here with my co-host for tonight, Tommy. We have a lot of different things to talk to you guys about, ranging from Trump's new cabinet picks all the way to the shakeups that's happening in the Democratic Party at the DNC. Today, I want to start with Hunter Biden's pardon. Let me pull up my notes here. All right, so President Joe Biden's recent decision to pardon his son Hunter Biden has ignited a firestorm of controversy across the political spectrum. So Hunter Biden faced federal convictions for gun possession and tax evasion, and the president, all along, said that he was not going to pardon his son and that he wasn't going to interfere in legal matters. However, I'm tongue tied.
It's all right, man. It's been a while.
Tongue tied today. Okay, so despite the president's prior assurances that he would not interfere in his son's legal matters, he issued a full and unconditional pardon covering offenses from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, 2024. So 10 years worth. There have been a lot of different reactions and takes on this. So former president and current president-elect Donald Trump criticized the move, saying it sets a precedent that could be exploited in future administrations, which, rich, right?
Right, yeah.
And then also media and public personalities. So Jon Stewart from The Daily Show said that he highlighted as hypocritical. Caitlin Collins described it as a political time bomb. But then there's also the legal and ethical concerns of this pardon. So it raises questions about the integrity of the judicial process and the potential for political favoritism. And critics argue that it undermines the principle of equal justice under the law, and the decision has not only drawn criticism from Republicans, but it also has drawn some from Democrats as well. People fear that it could damage the Democratic Party's credibility and electoral prospects. However, I've seen a lot of people weigh in on this on Twitter, also people who received pardons from Trump as rewards for their loyalty to him. So that's one of the things to where it's just like some people just should sit this out. But President Biden said in a statement from released from the White House that he defended his decision, saying that his son was selectively and unfairly prosecuted and that this was all politically motivated to hurt Biden. He said, quote, "I hope Americans will understand why a father and president would come to this decision." So the pardon of Hunter Biden, has sparked a lot of complex debates on the power of the presidency to pardon anyone with federal, convictions and stuff. But I don't know. My thing is that Hunter Biden is a private citizen. He's not publicly out there. He doesn't hold any government roles and never has he run for office. So to get dirt on President Biden, Republicans weaponized this and said, we need Hunter Biden's laptop and all this stuff. And he went through some stuff, right? Like he had a period of time where he had a rough patch in life, and that has been exploited in a way to try to get an electoral or political win against Biden. What's your take?
What's my take? It's a bad move. It was really far reaching. Like, no, it really is. Like, that's not what the pardon is supposed to be used for. And, I have no qualms with, criticizing somebody from my party. It was kind of amazing that it was all the way back to 2014. And I get what you might say the benign explanation is, they're going to keep on trying to scrutinize his, business ties to being on the board of Burisma. But it's just like, come on, the guy doesn't know anything about energy. So why was he even on the board of Burisma? He's clearly taking advantage of nepotism there. But I think the benign explanation is, I just don't want them to keep on digging into his past and keep on trying to persecute him that way for political points. But the pardon itself, it's, some people are saying, he's just trying to cover his tracks for all the crimes he had committed in 2014, to which there's been no actual substantial evidence for that sort of thing. But the presidential pardon is not meant to, help out your family members, that sort of thing. What it was supposed to be used for was this thing to help us one, if there was a miscarriage of justice, like a true miscarriage of justice, this is something that like the public actually believes that's what it was supposed to be for, was to undo miscarriages of justice, but also promote national healing. Um, Gerald Ford pardoning Nixon is a good one, and I know a lot of people might think that that was a controversial pardon, but it is actually exactly what it was supposed to be used for, to try to let America move on from a controversial past. And like I've told you just off the cuff and like before the election that I thought if Harris had won the presidency, I thought that either Harris or Biden should pardon Trump for all the federal crimes he did so that we could just move on from Trump. And that's kind of what it would be for, you know? But I mean, it's clearly like a conflict of interest to pardon your own son, and then just have such a broad pardon, especially after you said several times he wasn't going to do it. But I
Mhm.
mean, I can understand it, and also I the hypocrisy coming from Republicans on it. Like I can acknowledge that too. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not the first time somebody's misused the pardon power, and I wish it would just be used for what it was meant to be used for. Um, yeah, I think it was a bad move. That's my
I
take.
mean, then there's the other part of it, like Trump coming in his Justice Department. Like, do you think that Trump would have continuously went after Hunter Biden? You know, I think it's one of those things to where it's just like Hunter Biden didn't ask to be like in this position. Yeah, I get what you mean about like the board that he was on, and he didn't have any experience with that. But I mean,
Mhm.
look at all the people getting appointed to different things that they have no experience,
Sure.
running. I mean, they're clearly there for whatever the case may be. However, he's a private citizen, right? Like
Mhm.
these charges that he was founded on, like buying a gun illegally, tax evasion,
Mhm.
this is all stuff that they have probably done too. But it was
Yeah.
used as a tool against him. So it's kind of just like, do I want my son's life to continuously be like, or his past to be continuously brought up against him and things just because they're trying to get to me? Or should I just end this? Because
Sure.
I
Yeah.
get what you mean by like, yeah, pardoning Trump or whatever if Harris was elected, or if Harris was the elect and Biden or Harris just went ahead and pardoned Trump to clean slate,
Mhm.
let's just move on. I don't think Trump would do that because I mean he did promise retribution. So it's kind of just
Sure.
like, do I
Yeah.
want my son to be subjected to all this wrath that's going to be coming, or should I just like get him out of it because he didn't ask to be put in this position?
Yeah, no, I get the personal I mean, like, and the thing that I wanna avoid is this, like, whataboutism. It's like, just because the
Mhm.
Republicans did bad doesn't mean the Democrats should. Like, of course, they're being hypocritical, the Republicans, but that does 2 wrongs don't make a right. I would have preferred to see Trump get his days in court, days, because he had several cases, and I would have preferred to see Hunter Biden get his sentence, which was only a few days away. I think it should have actually been today. I would have preferred to see him get his sentence and serve his sentence. And like there was a good chance he was just going to get probation, you know. And the fact that it's like far sweeping, it's like it breathes life into those conspiracies that Hunter Biden was breaking all kinds of laws and, pay to play and that sort of thing. But it's just, historically it's not what the pardon was supposed to use it for, but I can also acknowledge that it's been abused for a long, long time. Like George H.W. Bush pardoned pretty much like several figures in the Iran Contra affair, right?
Mhm.
And that was a time when people were technically committing high treason and they got pardons for that. And that's not good either. Uh, George W. Bush, like he pardoned, I want to say one of his personal attorneys, Scooter Libby. I can't remember what it was for, but it was very controversial at the time. And then Bill Clinton, he pardoned his own brother. You know, this is not the first time it's going to happen. It's not the last time it's going to happen. I'm sure when Trump's out the door, he's going to do a lot of pardons. He's probably going to pardon several January Sixers, that sort of thing. But I'm just going back to that thing where it's like this is what it was. It wasn't meant for this. I mean, I honestly think he abused the position. It's like but he's not the first. I just don't want to use that as an excuse to say, yeah, this is fine and hand wave it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, I guess we get to move on from the Hunter Biden saga. Like he definitely was like the target of personal attacks. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene basically put revenge porn in the House when they, were going through their investigations and stuff. And I think that there was a lot of conspiracies concerning Hunter Biden that just
Mhm.
there was just smoke, no fire. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like, I can believe two things at once,
Yeah. It's I just feel like, they talk about, "Oh, he was doing drugs and doing this and doing that," and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, people get caught up in these like, things like that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you were an addict or whatever the case is, and then you got sober and try to move on from that and have people
Yeah. Yeah.
continuously dig up your past, I mean, like, because you had this situation or period in your life, doesn't mean you're, like, a crappy person and that, like, you need to be subjected to, like, public humiliation all the
Yeah.
time. Oh,
No, for
his
sure.
laptop.
Yeah.
We need to see his laptop. What was he doing? Running these photos. I mean, like, at the end of the day, isn't he like a parent? You know what I mean? Like, would you
No,
want
of
your kids
course.
to continue to see like
I
all of
understand.
this?
Like I said, I understand the personal reasons behind it, and I do
Yeah.
think that Hunter had been a victim of, I guess, for lack of a better term, witch hunts and stuff. And like, I
Mhm.
have my own personal history when it comes to addiction, and it's like it's really sad to see them taking advantage of that. And it's like this
Mhm.
is a sad thing. It's a sad thing when somebody's addicted to something. And like all of the hoopla they had in Congress was clearly just, stunts for political points.
Right.
Like I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene basically taking revenge porn and putting it in, like, in the halls of Congress. Like during a
That's
hearing,
great.
she had like pictures and stuff. Like I can understand all of that, but still, like, I can still have the opinion that like the pardon was too broad. It wasn't in the spirit of what pardons were supposed to be used for. It's a bad move. I think it makes Democrats, I mean, they ran a lot of last, 8 years on, we are the party of respecting the law and order, and that sort of thing. And I
Mhm.
think in the end, it's just like a thing. But Joe's riding off into the sunset. He seems happier to me, to be honest.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be mostly harmless in the end. I don't think there's gonna be a blowback, but give it a few days, it'll be out of the cycle. Um, oh yeah, okay. George W. Bush, Scooter Liberty commuted his sentence for perjury and obstruction of justice
You want
for
to
a
know something crazy?
CIA leak.
When these
What's up?
hearings started happening and Marjorie Taylor Greene was about to like come up and talk, and they're like, "Oh, the gentlewoman from Georgia is recognized." He tapped his attorney and they got up and left, and she was like, "Oh,
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. And she tried to
it's
make a big deal out of it.
yeah." He's like, "I'm not going to
Yeah.
give you the time of day." You know what I mean? Like you've
Yeah.
said all the things you want to say about me, and what's even funny is people's reactions to what Hunter Biden actually looks like. They were just like, why did I think Hunter Biden was like some 20-year-old or 21-year-old kid like doing all this crazy stuff? It's like, no, that dude is like in his
Yeah, man.
50s.
Yeah. Yeah, it can happen. I mean, Joe Biden's pretty old, man. I mean,
Yeah,
that's I have a lot of respect for Joe Biden because he does really have a life full of tragedy, and he has a life of getting knocked down 9 times, but getting back up like 10 times. Like, it really is. Like, if you just go and look into his personal life and the
mhm,
tragedy he had to deal with. Like, yeah, like, I have a lot of sympathy for the Biden family, but, I can also look at this move for what it is. But,
yeah.
I mean, hopefully they'll get some peace. I really hope that Joe Biden can enjoy his retirement. I mean, he did everything he could for the Democrats at this point. I mean,
And if you think
put it
about it, it's
simply.
kinda awful how we got here. Like, we got here because all like you were saying like I was saying, all this being weaponized against his son, like,
Yeah.
had they just, like, focused on,
Yeah.
you know, Biden or
I mean, I
w
I think it was pretty telling that the special counsel that Trump appointed on his way out, who was prosecuting Hunter Biden, I think it was pretty telling that he didn't bring any charges for, all the Burisma stuff, all the conspiracy theories that, you talk to conservatives, they say, oh, there's all this evidence that they totally were in on this far-reaching crime. But like, okay, well, why didn't a Trump appointed special counsel charge him for those things if it's so clear, and only charged him for a gun violation and a tax violation? I think it was kind of like, in a way, it was kind of, even though it was the opposite, it was kind of exonerating,
Mhm,
you know? But,
mm.
conservatives online are still conspiracy saying, oh, it's just really complicated to bring those charges, but it's coming. Now that Trump's DOJ, it's coming. Well, now it's not, I guess. So
Someone said, so Jared Kushner was pardoned, and I don't know where to go with this. It's a very hypocritical what he did go back on his word. I don't think it's a bad move. Trump is going to do it either way, whether we like it or not. And I am so sorry as a Democratic leader. I don't mind saying it should have that he should have dropped out sooner, but I knew we should have dropped back in October and November, and people pushed it really hard. And so did Nancy Pelosi. I think he's talking about.
he's talking about a few things, yeah. But no, I mean, it wasn't Jared Kushner who got pardoned. It was his father, right? And now his father's going to be the ambassador to France.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at what point is it just like?
I mean, but I can acknowledge both. Like the hypocrisy coming from Republicans, it's like Donald Trump should not be opening his mouth on this.
Mm-hmm.
None of the Republicans should be opening their mouth on this. Because I mean, they pardoned Flynn, George Flynn, General Flynn. They pardoned. I'm pretty sure they pardoned. What's his name? He's quite Roger Stone.
Yeah, Roger Stone. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of pardons that were clearly like because they were friends.
They were rewards. Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, and it's like it's also
for loyalty.
And it's also sending a message in the future. It's like, hey, you break the law for me, I'll still get you back in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Crazy.
It is what it is. But yeah.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk about this guy because this is like I was telling you before we went live. This is just a lot. There's just a lot going on with this guy.
Yeah.
So Pete Hegseth is still Donald Trump or President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, and he's facing some serious allegations. Allegations of sexual misconduct, accusations, financial mismanagement during his time leading veterans advocacy groups, and excessive drinking, an issue he has now addressed publicly. That would have been bad. I almost closed the stream. Hegseth denies all the allegations, of course, publicly vowed to stay sober if he was confirmed by the Senate. So pretty much saying, if you guys confirm me to be Attorney General, I will stop drinking. He's actively meeting with Republican senators on Capitol Hill to rally up his support, work those rooms and, shake hands and, rub elbows and things like that to try to get, more votes for his confirmation. There have been mixed responses from, the Senate GOP. Some have expressed deep concern over the allegations, while others have remained supportive, calling for fair evaluation of his records, saying that he's going to get a fair hearing. Reports are suggesting that Trump is thinking of ditching Hegseth and putting up DeSantis for this role instead. I don't know if you've seen those.
Oh, no, I didn't see that speculation.
Allegedly, just to avoid a contentious confirmation process. Hegseth's mother, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I guess there was an email that Hegseth's mother sent him in 2018, pretty much saying that you have become the man that I feel like does XYZ, pretty much calling out all of his stuff and saying that I hate that you have become this, but then went back and kind of retracted what she said. But she said what she said in the email to him that has now been leaked. But, that's kind of like I was telling you before we went live, this whole thing has to be kind of humiliating. Your whole past is getting drug out, as it should, because this is a big role, right? This isn't a small thing to be Secretary of Defense of the United States, right? People need to know. However, Hegseth has vowed to fight for the position. He says that he will never back down, but I'm not sure where to go from here, because at some point it's just when is enough? This is just too much baggage. This is too much information, right? Not to mention allies and adversaries are watching all of this. You know what I mean? This is the guy they put up, a guy who allegedly took his, team out on an outing to a strip club, allegedly, and did all this stuff, has all these allegations against him. Is he a clean cut through and through guy? Can you trust him to be the Secretary of Defense of this country? I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he has some underlying baggage skeletons in the closet that could really impact like his ability to lead in that role. But I mean, I think Trump picked him because he knows that he's going to try to pretty much, for lack of a better term, like purge the military of anybody who might be seen as disloyal to Trump. I have a pretty pessimistic take on the sexual harassment allegations. I've just not seen any of those sort of things sink Republicans in the past. I think it's kind of like far-fetched to believe that this is something that'll actually sink him, but it just depends on the senators. I think Guillermo in the chat was trying to say that maybe he only has 44 senators who are pledged to him or something like that. But I mean, if he goes down, it's going to be, Trump and the senators who decide that. If they're backing the guy, none of that'll matter, because like I'm reminded of the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and even the Clarence Thomas hearings, where it was just like, allegations of sexual harassment, and they did pretty much nothing in the end. Both Thomas and Kavanaugh got confirmed, even though they had like serious sexual harassment allegations hanging over their heads. So, I mean, yeah, it just depends on the senators. Yeah. I know Susan Collins is always like, whoa, these are very concerning allegations, but then she just falls in line.
Like I said last time, everything in this country comes down to California, Texas, Florida, Donald Trump, Susan Collins, and like a couple of other people.
Yeah, Susan Collins, I think she's in on her 6th term in the Senate right now, but she was one of those people that her and Lisa Murkowski were the reasons why Kavanaugh went through, and they believed Kavanaugh when he said that he wasn't going to revisit Roe v. Wade, and then it happened, and now Susan Collins has egg on her face, and she's probably going to have a serious challenge in 2026.
You think so?
But yeah, I mean, Maine typically votes statewide. They vote Democrat these days, and Susan Collins, that could still be a pretty big deal for her, that she was just like, okay, Kavanaugh assured me he won't go after Roe v. Wade, and then he did, plus, she's getting long in the tooth. Maybe they think that there's a better person out there for the job. And then also, like, Maine has a very popular Democratic governor. I forget the lady's name, but she's very popular, and she's going to be term limited in 2026. So there's a good chance that she'll have a strong opponent.
We will see. We'll see how these cabinet picks shake up. Because I do have like something after we get through these cabinet picks, because we have a few more to talk about, because there have been some new announcements. But I'll come back and highlight an important thing about like all these cabinet picks. Next up, you want to talk about your guy, Kash Patel?
Dude, this guy. I mean, like, that's the theme for all of these picks is, people who are really loyal to Trump, first of all, and have they'll have this mandate, and I think they'll see it through as best as they can to pretty much dismantle any part of the government that could potentially hamper Trump or have hampered Trump in the past. This guy, like, he has some pretty serious takes on the FBI. Like, he says that he pretty much wants to remove the FBI from DC and scatter all 7,000 DC FBI employees across the nation. Like, he wants to pretty much scatter them and kind of like decentralize them. He wants to completely transform the FBI to this point where there's no way that they can do anything to hamper Trump. And then also, he's got some really weird personal history. Like during COVID, he was a vaccine skeptic, but he was hawking this like supplement called No COVIDium or something like that. It was a completely untested supplement, but he claimed that it would completely reverse like COVID.
To like what, clear it?
Supplements. Yeah, like
was this the same guy talking about like if you take this, then it'll cleanse the vaccine out of your system or something?
Yeah. It was a vaccine detox supplement, is what he called it. Promotion through, it's promoting like unverified health products. He said it would have reversed the vax and get you healthy, and it contained like common dietary ingredients like turmeric. Yeah, turmeric. And like green tea extract, vitamin D.
Oh my gosh, turmeric. Like, I take turmeric supplements.
Yeah, and it was just completely off his rocker when it came to COVID. And then also he promoted, conspiracy theories, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, this pick is just, he's going to do whatever Trump wants him to do for the FBI. The interesting thing is the current FBI director, I can't remember his first name, but it's Director Wray. His term doesn't end until 2027. So Trump's going to have to fire him if he really wants this guy in there. So if he goes through with it, like he's gonna, just like he did Comey, he's gonna fire Wray. It's pretty controversial when a president comes in and fires an FBI director. But of course, at this point, I think it's safe to say that Trump is impervious to controversy. I mean, so this guy's is somebody to watch. I think he's a little batty, batty, not batty.
Oh,
Tease, not D's. And yeah, I mean, I think his whole thing is he's just going to try to rip the FBI up and scatter it to the winds. And he's also got some strange past. So seems to be a theme here,
Like what?
What, the theme?
The strange past.
Like the COVID stuff, and
yeah,
like promoting like COVID conspiracies. He was an anti-vaxxer. He promoted conspiracies about the COVID-19 vaccine. And what's pretty funny about that is like the COVID-19 vaccines, the two major ones, were developed under Trump's administration, or at least through the support of the administration. So it's like, I just didn't understand how like Trump, like his administration oversaw the development of those COVID vaccines, or at least the FDA approval and then some of the financial support. And then in the end, Trump supporters just did not trust the vaccine. It was just like, your boy like had a part in it. I don't, but nothing has to make sense, I suppose.
We'll see. What do you think of this guy? Do you think he actually has a shot? Like,
I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's going to depend on the votes. It's just going to depend on the senators and Trump's will. I kind of think he does have a shot, just because he's still like, he's not Hegseth. He doesn't have a long history out there in the open. And then like if somebody asks him a question about COVID, it's just, I mean, he could just say that that's not the purview of the FBI director and just could dodge the question pretty easily. I think he has a shot.
The other thing about these cabinet picks is like, they can't like shoot down all of his nominees. You know what I mean? Like that would look bad.
Yeah.
I think they'd be like, okay, well, we're just going to pick the really, really bad one to burn.
That might, yeah. And some people have speculated that, like, for instance, oh gosh, the first AG pick, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Matt Gaetz.
Some people speculated that Trump picked him not as a serious candidate, but to like make the senators go, wow, this one is so bad compared to all the other ones. I'm going to support all the other ones and reject this one. That was somebody else's like little conspiracy theory. And I thought maybe there was something to it. Maybe they're not, but
damn.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I do want to talk about his SEC pick, Paul Atkins. So I've had to do like a lot of research on these people because I don't know these people, but the research has been fun to see. So President-elect Donald Trump, he's nominated Paul Atkins to chair the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC for short. It's a critical role in regulating securities, markets, and protecting investors, making this a key appointment for U.S. financial oversight. His nomination is part of Trump's broader strategy to reduce regulations across industries, so aiming to create a more business-friendly environment. So who is this guy? A little bit of background. He served as the SEC commissioner from 2002 to 2008. He was known for advocating for deregulation, emphasizing on reduced regulatory burdens for businesses to stimulate economic growth. He was a vocal critic of the Dodd-Frank Act, legislation passed after the 2008 financial crisis to tighten oversight on financial institutions, which, right? Public philosophy, or policy philosophy, excuse me. So he believes that excessive regulation stifles innovation and competitiveness in financial markets, supports a light touch regulatory approach particularly for emerging industries like cryptocurrencies. He really likes cryptocurrency. So he's had a lot of support. Trump has praised him as a, quote, proven leader for common sense regulations who understands the importance of fostering, quote, robust, innovative capital markets. Wall Street has welcomed the nomination, viewing him as someone who will change restrictive regulations. Atkins' leadership is expected to favor deregulation, of course, aligning with Wall Street's interests in rolling back post 2008 crisis measures. He's gotten support from the crypto industry. So, Paul Grewal, chief legal officer at Coinbase, says, quote, Paul Atkins' commitment to balance and regulating U.S. securities market is essential. We look forward to his fresh leadership at the SEC. G. Kim, Crypto Council for Innovation, said that Atkins is a, quote, strong and forward-leaning pick who could foster responsible innovation in the cryptocurrency space. However, there have been a lot of concerns and criticisms. So, consumer advocacy groups warn that his deregulatory approach could increase the likelihood of risky financial behaviors similar to those that contributed to the 2008 financial crisis. If you haven't seen the movie The Big Short, I would highly recommend watching it. Such a good movie. I love watching it every once in a while. They argue that weakened investor protections could harm smaller investors and undermine financial market stability. Congressman Brad Sherman expressed concern, saying that Atkins might, quote, take the position that no cryptocurrency is a security, potentially leading to insufficient oversight and investor fraud. And Lynn Turner, a former SEC chief accountant, warned that his appointment could mark a dramatic rollback of critical financial protections. So some of the key questions like to consider and take away from this is, will this leadership strike the right balance between fostering innovation like he wants and also securing and ensuring financial stability? Or will a lighter regulatory approach repeat mistakes that had led to past financial crisis, risking market instability? And the whole thing to me just seems concerning, because if you want somebody who wants to roll back different protections that were in place after the 2008 financial crisis, which was devastating to so many people, why would you do that? I don't know.
That's the hallmark of, the SEC is like a notoriously toothless organization. It's supposed to be the cop on Wall Street, you know what I'm saying, among other things. And like, even after the financial crisis, it still didn't get like the teeth it really needed. Even with Dodd-Frank, it's just one of those organizations. It's kind of like our NADC here. It's just kind of pretty much considered a joke. And this guy is just, he just looks like the, quintessential pick for trying to leave Wall Street do whatever they want to do. And that's really what Wall Street they just want to be left alone to do whatever hijinks they want to do. I'm really distracted by this picture right here because he's like clearly airbrushed, and it's just like, dude, it's okay. Wrinkles are okay. But that's what it is. It's like the reason why Wall Street likes the pick, I'm not surprised, is because they just want to be left alone to do all the shady stuff that they do. Even after the subprime mortgage crash,
Right.
Wall Street went right back. They waited a few months and went right back to trading the same kind of instrument. They just called it by a different name. And that's the interesting thing about Wall Street, is they just come up with all this really technical jargon that they hope puts everybody to sleep. But this guy, he just wants to be a friend to wealthy investors, just make sure that nobody bothers them and they can just have their fun with the American economy, playing Russian roulette with the American economy. It's a pretty pessimistic pick, but it's not surprising. We've come so far that and the caution has still been thrown into the wind so much that even Dodd-Frank has been watered down several times since 2008. But it's basically what you expect from Republican appointees, and even Democrats, they still give a lot of deference to Wall Street because that's where a lot of money comes from. Campaign finance money comes from. But it's going to be hard to keep an eye on him because he's just going to be doing the same thing everybody's been doing for the SEC.
Yeah.
The crypto thing. What's your take on that? Because it's that's such a Wild West show going on.
Cryptocurrency?
Yeah. Have you bought anything?
Yeah, so I actually own cryptocurrency, several different kinds, actually. Um,
No,
so
I mean, I did
okay,
it once, so
so I guess I should preface this. I bought like a whole bunch in 2017, like when
uh-huh,
all that was like taken off, and haven't touched it since. So it's literally
uh-huh.
just sat there. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, I'll go and check in like to see what my portfolio is at. But I'm not like a day trader by any means. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
follow all the Reddit posts and know when to buy and sell and do all this stuff. Like I way too much going on to be able to do all that right now. So, but yeah, I did buy like several different coins, just a variety, some high end, some low end, and just left it there to see what would happen. But I did want to get into it a lot more. And it's so wild because I think about like how one of my friends talked about how he used to buy cryptocurrency and actually use it like as currency for
Yeah.
different things. And he was like, it's so wild to look back at like, 20, what, 15, twenty
Mhm.
fourteen, like, and see like, oh, I bought this with a whole Bitcoin or this or that. And now he's just like, dang, I could have been a multimillionaire had I known. But that's the
Dude,
thing about investing. You don't know. Like, especially like that,
yeah,
like you were saying, it's the Wild West.
I mean, I read so many interesting stories about Bitcoin. Like some guy said, like he was one of the first one to buy some Bitcoin when they first came out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I bought a pizza with 11 Bitcoin, which is worth like I don't know, like $500,000, $600,000 today."
Yeah.
But this idea that it's not like a security, it's highly speculative security. Come on, they just don't want it to be regulated. And I remember there was some guy at the SEC who was trying to regulate cryptocurrencies, and then when his time at the SEC was done, he went into like business as a consultant to help crypto exchanges avoid the regulations he put into place. But anyways, I'll tell you my personal experience with it. Like I saw it like I want to say this was like 2016 or something like that, and I saw there was
Mm.
a big hype about it, and I was like, well, whatever, I'll throw some money in, and so I threw in $1,000, right? 3 months later, that $1,000 shot up to $3,000. And you know what that told me? Because I'm not a moron. You because this is highly volatile. Just because it was volatile to in my benefit
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's not bad. So I was like, this is crazy. I am not keeping my money in this. Like I took out 2,000 of the 3,000 that I had.
So
Like
you
so
net 2,000 profit. Wow.
I did, and you know what happened to that last $1,000? It crashed to next to nothing. Like, and that's what I expected. Like, that's what I expected, because in a
At least you
highly
doubled your
volatile,
investment.
but that's not the takeaway. The
I get
takeaway,
what you're saying. I get
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
the
Yeah.
takeaway is like it's highly volatile. I mean, it's clearly like Bitcoin is being used for pump and dump schemes. Like
Mhm.
that's such a like something that could be easily regulated, that we did regulate from the stock market for back in the 90s. It was a big thing. It's something that's so clearly obvious and something that really rips people off. And the SEC and regulation is supposed to keep that from happening. But that's why they don't want it to be considered a security, is because they don't want regulations. They want to keep on using it. You want to know like who Bitcoin is really popular with in the
Mm.
world? Mexican drug cartels, criminal syndicates. It's very popular on the deep web because you can't trace Bitcoin. You can't trace, where it came from and where it went,
Mm.
So I mean, it used to be like they used to have this deep web website called Silk Road where you could buy drugs, you could even hire hitmen, and that was their currency. Yeah, yeah, it used to be, yeah. And then the guy who made the Silk Road got like prosecuted. I think he's in prison. But it's just like it's such a I mean, even North Korea uses a lot of Bitcoin because they're very good at financial crimes. One of the best like money counterfeiters in the world, North Korea, you know. And it's
Dang.
just like they all love cryptocurrency because it's completely unregulated, it's decentralized, and it's just like we have to figure out something, but I don't know. I like talking to people who are really into cryptocurrencies because they're just strange people.
Well, I remember
They
talking to
love
this
the
kid when I was at work, and I was like, "Oh, like what do you want to do? Like after high school?" He was talking about, "Oh, I want to day trade in cryptocurrency and all this stuff." So I'm like asking him all these questions, and he was talking about, the economy is going to get better and cryptocurrency is going to skyrocket with Trump in office and this and that. And I was like, okay, like, and we're talking about it, and I'm like pressing him about like is this, like you were saying, it's volatile? Is this like a sustainable like career path? Do you really want to be a crypto day trader? And he was like, well, I'm gonna have a 9 to 5 and do this and stuff. And then at the end I told him, I was like, so I do have cryptocurrency. And he was like, this guy, like, why are you grilling me about it then? Like, I'm just like, well, just because I have it doesn't mean like I can't think of it from like another perspective, right? Like, that's how you got to think about it. You don't want to like feel like you're in an echo chamber and just have me agree with everything. Like, yeah, it's gonna be great. We'll see.
I mean, I used to kind of look at it. I was very interested in it, but it's just like there really is no like practical use case for crypto. There might be someday, but this idea that it's going to skyrocket and take off in use, like it's completely unregulated right now. If it's ever going to skyrocket, it's now. And you might say, well, Bitcoin has skyrocketed. And it's like, look how volatile it is. Look how it goes up to like so much per one Bitcoin and then collapses, and it just keeps doing that. And I bet like a lot of that is pump and dump schemes, that sort of thing. But like maybe someday a cryptocurrency will find some kind of practical use, but like it's just right now it's just sensationalized, unregulated, undesignated security trading, just completely volatile. It's just like, folks, go look at your 401k. If the person running your 401k has a target date fund, put your money in that. Don't think about it after that. Target date funds are probably the best thing that were ever invented when it came to investing. But we're getting off on a tangent here. Yeah, I don't know. I like finance, and I like the SEC, that sort of thing.
Let's go to. Jeez, I didn't have the other one geared up. I was going to talk about his
IRS pick.
IRS pick, but I didn't get like the show template ready for that. So we'll just have to discuss that next time, because he's a boring pick in comparison to everything that we've seen. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of just like, he's just kind of like, let me put some buffer in this, But the overall thing, if you notice a trend with his cabinet picks, is they're all pretty wealthy people. He has like several billionaires in there. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
oh yeah. Some guy who only worth like a few $100 million, he's considered the poor one.
Yeah, there's like nobody in there. Wait, you said how much? 7 million?
A few $100 million. We still got this SEC guy flashing up. I can't keep on looking at the airbrush picture, man. He kind of looks like a Muppet or a mannequin.
Dude, that's oh, I just got another alert. He would nominate Frank Bisignano, the chairman of the data processing behemoth Pfizer, to be the Social Security Commissioner. We'll have to come back and talk about some of these other picks, but a lot of these are just like pretty wealthy people. A lot of them are billionaires, like you said. The poorest person so far has just a few $100 million, but like,
it's ridiculous, man. I'm telling you, like one of these days we're gonna sign on for an episode, and I'm just gonna be sitting here smoking a cigarette, just like God. No, maybe it'll be all right. Now for the IRS pick, did you want to keep going on about that one?
Let's skip that one and come back to that one.
Well, no, I actually think it's more interesting than you might think. What do you want to go to We've already done the FBI pick, right?
The IRS was kind of the last one, and then your one about Kleeb. Let's just go to Kleeb's, and then we'll come back to the other guy, because I do want to talk about the Social Security guy. So why don't you introduce us in this one, because you wanted to talk about.
So like, I can't remember. This was sometime last week, I want to believe, but Jane Kleeb, chair of the Nebraska Democratic Party, she's also the grassroots organizer who founded Bold, Nebraska in 2010, famous for, fighting pipelines. She announced that she was going to run for ASDC president, which is very interesting. And it's something that's not a surprise given Ken Martin's like bid for DNC chair. It was pretty clear early on that Jane was like a surrogate for Ken, right? And then the fact that Ken came out the gate with like 80 pledges was very telling that this is an effort that's been going on for, I want to say, at least up to a year. But this makes sense, because she's probably got the backing of Ken. She's probably, I don't think they really run on slates per se, but it's kind of an unofficial slate sort of thing. So Ken Martin is currently the ASDC president, and she would be succeeding him, and she's very likely to get this, actually, I think. She's, from what I understand, I should probably mention ASDC is the Association of State Democratic Committees. It's basically like the organization that represents state parties, right? And she would be the president of that, right? And from what I understand, she's actually quite popular in the ASDC. She's been somebody who's advocated a lot for strong state parties, that sort of thing. So what's interesting about this is, since she's tied to Ken Martin, but also popular in her own right in this organization, it does look like she is the front runner for this position. And I don't even know if anybody's declared to run against her yet, but I actually do think that not only will Ken Martin become the next DNC chair, but she will be the next ASDC president. So what's interesting about this is, like, it will, I mean, she's already got some national influence, but, being from a small state delegate and stuff like that, I do believe she has been a power broker in the DNC before, just with like a coalition of other small states. This is going to increase her national influence by quite a bit, right?
I mean, she has articles in like Esquire magazine, like all these different things. The BBC wrote a piece about her, when they were protesting the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah. That's really, her status really took off. But she's been at this for a long time.
It was you who told me that there was a photo of her like out there in the trenches, like an epic photo. I tried to find that photo when I was building the graphics for the show, but I couldn't. But
yeah. I mean, so like on paper, like she's supposed to be somewhat of a leader for this organization. She can be like a power broker as well. I'm just responding to the latest comment that you
had. Go ahead and explain the benefits of this role, what it could mean, moving forward.
Her job will basically be to try and strengthen state Democratic parties and their operations and their ability to organize and stuff. She'll be advocating for that. That's kind of one of her main jobs, at least on paper. She'll be a huge advocate for certain positions and directions of, where the DNC should go, especially within relation to the parties. And since she's been somebody who's kind of like already told, I mean, she's sounding the alarm, I guess, on how state parties are not being supported, which is something I agree with as well. Like, I think that's what she's really going to push for, better support of state parties. I know one of her positions is that state party chairs should be paid. And, I've always agreed just in general that labor is labor. So anybody who can be paid in the DNC or within the greater Democratic apparatus should get paid in those leadership positions. So that's something she's going to really go for. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it is officially on paper. And I got to do a lot more research because it's a position that I only really learned about in the last few months. But in the really interesting stuff is the kind of the power she's going to have behind the scenes. I mean, she's going to be able to network like never before. She's going to be able to talk to a lot of Democratic donors that she might not have otherwise been able to talk to. I mean, from what I understand, she already has some good relationships with some Democratic donors, but I mean, this is going to put her like right there on the top of Democratic leadership, right?
Yeah.
Basically only second to like the DNC chairs and vice chair, I want to say. I mean, her network opportunities, career path works. I mean, she's going to have a direct say in the direction of the DNC and the greater Democratic Party. Like, what is our future forward? And because I really think that this is going to happen, I really think that she's going to fill that role. And of course, I just hope that there's some kind of like trickle down benefit for the Nebraska Democratic Party. But it comes with its risks. I mean, nobody is universally praised and loved. She's probably going to have somewhat of a bigger target on her back. I mean, you and I see all the local news people coming out of the woodwork to criticize her for all kinds of things. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. I mean, when everything goes right, nobody gives you really credit. Nobody talks about you. And when everything goes wrong, you're one of the first people to be blamed, So I mean, she's weathered a lot of storms here and stuff, so I think it's really interesting. It's not a surprise that she's going for this, and she's kind of tied to the Ken Martin effort, and then that effort's been going for a while. So yeah, I mean, we might have a native Nebraskan who's going to be at the top of DNC leadership come February. I mean, I really think it's going to happen. I think Ken Martin's basically a shoo-in at this point, just because of how much support he's already got.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know, like, I heard that previously, like, what state parties used to get 15,000
mm-hmm,
a month from the
mm-hmm.
DNC to help, like, staff and move things along. And then after Obama was elected, it got cut down to 5,000.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story because remember, Obama was an outsider when he came in, right? And
Yeah.
he, like, the DNC was basically just backing Hillary Clinton, right? And he came in, he did not trust the DNC, he did not trust the apparatus. And as president, you can pretty much tell the DNC what to do. So he basically like just devolved them, like cut all their resources. He had his own organization where he started like funneling the resources to because he did not trust the DNC. And the DNC became a shell of itself, like
Mm.
because Obama just did not trust the DNC, and they still haven't fully recovered. This is why like Hillary had to have that controversial like fundraising agreement with the DNC that everybody says screwed Bernie Sanders over with. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's kind of like probably one of the things that Jane is trying to going to try to address is like the DNC still hasn't recovered, and it needs to with resources.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting story. Obama made some very questionable moves during his presidency, but that happens. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Guillermo said, "That's sad. We need more." What?
Money? I don't know.
So you could
But
always use
yeah,
more
no,
money.
yeah, but it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of speculation about how she's not going to run for re-election for NDP chair in 2026. But if she gets this position, I think she does have to stay on as a state chair to be able to hold the position. So, yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
term
and
is what, 4 years?
yeah, it's every 4 years. They actually changed that a few years ago. It used to be 2 years, and it's actually common out there for all the other state parties that the term is only 2 years,
Mm.
which I mean, you have to be worrying about re-election like 6 months after your election. So, I mean, I agree with the 4 years thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I mean, like she herself is a progressive, especially when it comes to DNC relative to the DNC. But like, I was kind of one of those people who was like a part of the progressive faction here in the NDP when I was involved. And, we had been at odds a few times. Um, but a lot of people in our little group, our little coalition of progressives, like they would criticize her for a lot of things that I thought were just off base. It's like there's
Mm.
plenty of criticism to go, but it's just like you should be criticizing her for something that is actually her job. And I feel like a lot of people are always criticizing her for something that's not her job. Like I think that I could go for a while talking about things that I think she should be doing and stuff, but she gets a lot of criticism that just is not accurate. And then the other thing is like people are always saying, "Oh, she should resign or she shouldn't run again" and stuff like that. And I keep trying to tell people, dude, there's worse out there. And as a matter of fact, she's keeping those people away. There is, I mean, and like if she were to leave on a low note as the chair of the NDP, those people are likely to come in. And it's just like, you know, criticize her all you want, but she actually doesn't quiet voices. She doesn't like shut you down. Of course, she'll use her influence as a chair, but that's expected. The people before her did not care about minority voices in the NDP. You know, they broke rules and they made sure that any dissent was pretty quickly snuffed out. And at the very least, Jane might try to talk you off a cliff, and if she doesn't want you to go in a certain direction, but she will let you have your day in court, I guess you want to call it. So it's just like I tell my progressive friends, like, yeah, like there's things that we want to push the party in certain directions, and we might get resistance from leadership, but like she at least follows the rules and lets the minority voices say something. So it's just like it's a mixed bag, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyways, we might have a homegrown Nebraskan top of the totem pole at the DNC soon.
That'd be a sight to see.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So That's kind of it. I mean, we're at 7:59 right on the dot. But
Yeah. The one thing I did want to say about the IRS pick is I know he seems unsuspecting, but if anybody, believe it or not, if anybody's going to be capable of getting revenge on Trump's opponents, it's going to be the IRS, because they fly under the radar and they can audit you and audit you and audit you and basically make you go broke because you need an attorney for the hardcore audits that you need to do. That's what they did to James Comey, among other people. Like James Comey, just every year after he left, suddenly during the Trump administration, would just keep on finding himself under audit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, they
So it's
just
like,
bleed you dry.
believe it or not, the IRS might be the one place where Trump can get his revenge. But we'll see. I mean, he's gearing up. Every pick seems to be about loyalty and on board with the whole revenge tour, that sort of thing. Of course, I hope
Do you
I'm
think
wrong.
he,
You
do
know?
you think he's actually going to do that? You know what I mean? Like somebody said, Trump is very much a character that exists in the present, right? Like does what he
Mm-hmm.
needs to do to get what he needs once right now, like instant gratification. And then once he's there, it's kind of just like, eh, do I really
I
want to
can
go
see it.
back and drag Kamala Harris through court and, investigate her for the 2020 election and Biden? Like, do I really want
Mm-hmm.
to relitigate all of that? Like,
Yeah, I don't know
or
if he's
is
going
it
to go
like,
after. Go ahead.
or is he, or did he just say and do all the stuff he said and did just to get back to where he wants to be and just like, whatever.
I mean, like I said, it's hard getting in the mind of Donald Trump. More power to anybody who tries to do it. I could see it going that way too, yeah. But it just seems like he's so committed to the idea of revenge, and he talked more about being the people's revenge. I mean, like the smartest thing he ever said was that the system is rigged. And of course it's rigged. He just wasn't honest about how it's rigged and how to unrig it and stuff like that. But I
Mhm.
mean, I kind of think that he's going for it. And in some of these picks, like especially if he was serious about Matt Gaetz, then he was definitely serious about going after people. And did you say that they were thinking that they were going to get DeSantis to be? Oh no, that's Department of Defense. Who's his
Yeah.
new AG pick? I forgot.
Pam Bondi.
Okay, no, I mean she could definitely be somebody who would go after revenge too. Like, I think that's it. Like every pick is loyalty and also has those hints of carrying out his revenge tour. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that winning humbles him. And I don't, God, these tariffs just every day. I mean, he has Justin Trudeau in Canada. He's got his back against the ropes, and like he knows it. I
Trudeau.
think, yeah, Trudeau is living on borrowed time, and any tariffs right now against Canada would ruin. I mean, I think Trudeau's going to be kicked out of power next year, but I mean, this would be devastating loss if their economy gets any worse. Oh, where'd you go, man? But yeah, I
Sad.
mean, like, I think he's serious about the tariffs. I just, we'll see.
See, we shall. And so, okay, so for those of you guys watching, if you missed the episode we did a week or so ago where we talked about tariffs and stuff, I just cut that segment and uploaded it to YouTube today. So you can go check that out at the Jazari Kual Show on YouTube. But all the unexpected things that I didn't realize tariffs would affect, like
Mhm.
electricity, like the northern US states depend on clean energy from Canada.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like putting tariffs in place to secure the border and to bring jobs back to America, like do we have grid systems that could our grid system absorb that that need?
Mhm.
You
This
know?
idea of going back to a manufacturing based economy is as silly as going back to an agricultural based economy. It's not going to happen. It's just these tariffs don't make any sense. I mean, he could say it's about protecting national security or protecting our industries and stuff. And sure, there's some room for it. But like this idea of taking us back to a manufacturing based economy, it's nonsense. So, but he might literally destroy the Canadian economy in the matter of months.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, they're having a really hard time right now, like, especially when it comes to housing crisis,
Mhm.
like, food prices, all this other stuff. Trudeau? Okay, so Trudeau's I don't know, I could go into it, but, yeah, I mean, this could push Canada's economy to the brink, and I think that Trump knows that, and I think that he could get massive concessions from Justin
Okay.
Trudeau, and
So
that
what
yeah.
about this? What if they come back and what if let's say Canada hits up Mexico and China and release some kind of joint like thing like, "You know what? We're going to try to like figure things out by ourselves." Because if you put all three people in a bucket, be like, "I'm doing this because you and you." What if they teamed up?
They could try to team up. I mean, there are gonna be retaliatory tariffs that just this is the way it works, but, like, Canada, there's no way they can scramble to like, even right now, and they got the head start, there's no way they can scramble to, like, soften the blow of US tariffs,
Mm.
and, like, Justin Trudeau knows it, and Justin Trudeau is gonna lose their party's gonna lose the election anyways, regardless, but it's just like, are they gonna be completely wiped out? Like, that happens to, like, some, uh English or UK style parliament parties. Like sometimes they just get completely wiped out and they just never recover and never be they lose their major party status. It'd be equivalent of, you know, like the Democrats losing almost every seat in the House to the Republicans and some third parties and then just never recovering. That's what Justin Trudeau's party is facing, and his career is basically over in October
Of next year.
and so yeah, of next year. And like that's something I didn't realize at the beginning. It's like I was thinking like, why Canada? Like, why is he going after Canada? And he was trying to say it's because of the drugs and illegal immigration. It's just like I'm pretty sure we have illegal immigration into Canada that's pretty on par. But then I realized it only recently that he just wants to basically take Canada for everything they're worth. And Justin Trudeau will give him everything at this point because he just has no alternatives. You know, it's kind of sad for Canada right now. Got some friends
Dang.
there who are talking about how rough it is. Maybe we should talk about Canada sometime. Oh, somebody asked exactly why Canada. Yeah,
And
Trump
Guillermo
just
said,
wants
"Well,
to.
Mexico has options to trade with Africa and Europe. Workers will be laid off in Canada and
You know,
Mexico." I think even laid. Sorry, Spanglish
yeah.
keyboard. No worries.
No, I understand that. I know that they'll have alternatives and they'll try to go for other markets. It's just they don't have enough time to decouple from the U.S. economy. They're gonna hurt. I mean, we're gonna hurt too. Like, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's just like, yeah, poor Canada, dude. Like, they can't take any more. Like, they've had a lot of economic problems, pressures
Really?
for a while. Yeah, yeah. It's they have such a housing. Like, if you look it up. Like 70% of Canada lives in such a small area because most of Canada is uninhabitable. You know, and you can't even grow agriculture because there's something called the Canadian Shield, which is basically land that only a small distance below the surface is just rock, basically. So
I was just in
yeah,
Canada and I had a great time. Granted, I'm an American that was there for a wedding on vacation, but like, I don't know. I think that people didn't really talk about that there.
maybe they don't. But I have friends from there that I keep in touch with a lot, and they were saying like Trudeau is so desperate that he might pretty much for 1 month, this month of December, basically pass this one off where nobody has to pay taxes for the month. Right? So like gift taxes, like a lot of stuff is just going to get this one-off 1 month thing of no taxes because he's so desperate to recover. Like, okay, so in Canada, and I'll
Wow.
make this quick. In Canada, in order to have a majority in their parliament, you need 170 seats, and I think he has 155. Now he's able to govern because he's the majority party, but he also has to make nice with the other parties. He's not even in a coalition government right now. So he's the Liberal Party of Canada, and then there's the Conservative Party of Canada, and those are the major rivals. The Conservative Party of Canada is currently projected to have like 230 seats after the next election, and his party could go as low as 30 seats. So he could lose 120 seats in parliament. And my friend was saying, like, basically every third vehicle has a F Trudeau bumper sticker. Yeah, I mean, we should go. It's very interesting. And it's like, this is one of those reasons why I think Trump is like, that's the whole point, is to take advantage of Canada. Canada gives us a lot of steel, the softwood timber, or soft timber. I forget what it's called. I mean, we get a lot of stuff from Canada, and we could probably get it, I mean, a lot cheaper, because Justin is just so, or Trudeau is so desperate right now, because the economic situation there is just bad. Sorry, I just,
No, that's actually a good idea. You guys should let us know if you want like a special stream where we should like research different things, because there's been times where we talked about gosh,
we talked about the most random stuff.
The East African Federation, is it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's such
like
an
stuff like
one.
yeah, stuff like that, like a deep dive on that, a deep dive on like Canada and things, and like that would be fun actually. Special, like a power hour of just like all of this stuff. Damn, it's gonna be a lot of research.
Stuff that nobody, I mean, it would be nice to have a break. It would be nice to have a break from American politics and kind of discuss things that are going on elsewhere. I mean, like this one frightening trend, and maybe we should leave it with this frightening fact. It seems like every developed nation in the world, and even several undeveloped nations in the world, are absolutely 100% opposed to immigration. It just seems like every country, developed nation and a few undeveloped nations, are just like no to immigration. Absolutely not. Canada's that way, who is famous for being a nation of immigrants. I mean, we're a nation of immigrants. And it's just like, it's kind of scary, because that's a breeding ground. That sentiment is a breeding ground for far right parties. And believe it or not, we're starting to see a lot of far right parties emerge in Europe, of all places, and Canada. So, yeah, very interesting global situation. But, I guess you could always say, when has it not been? Yeah.
I'm just putting a message in the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in and engaging with us. It makes it easier, when you're getting like real-time feedback.
Yeah, and remember, we should try to get some people on just to share their thoughts about random stuff,
Yeah, we should, Jane, Kleeb, if you're watching this, come on. Come on. The next time you're in Lincoln, yeah, we should definitely do an in-person thing. But some other people, there's a list. I created a list of potential guests that I'll share with you. But yeah,
you got some interesting ones coming up, I know.
Yeah,
stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned. Right. Stay tuned. So if you are not already following the pages, be sure to like and follow the pages. Also share this stream to kind of help keep the conversation going on these different topics. Helps us kind of like, steer where we're going or what to talk about next. XYZ, LMNOP, you get the vibes. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one, probably sooner than you think. But yeah. All right, Tommy, let's have a quick debrief after this.
Sure.
Where is... Okay, all right.
Peace, everyone.
Sorry, I'm trying to find... I gotta organize how all of this is, because like I'm like missing things, and just like all these different folders with all these different graphics, and
yeah.
Where did it go?
The stop live button?
No.
Because we're still live.
I know we are. Still live. Okay, it's the end stream. All right. Bye, y'all. Love you.